So, welcome to episode 2, technically, of 8-Bit Bistro Live. Today we're being joined with Rabbit Sensei.
Hello.
Is uh, you're a bit of a streamer, and you have your own channel, you do your own stuff, you play the
I've
games.
I've only been doing it for about 4, almost 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of a streamer. It's fine. And then also today we're being joined again by Bray, who is our average consumer, right? Like you're not.
Official average consumer, apparently, at this point.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. I mean, like you're not a content creator, although I force you to create content with me. That's a thing. But like this isn't really your thing. I just sort of make you suffer, come along and on my weird experiences through content creation.
No, it's fine.
Um,
I don't care.
yeah. Today we're talking next gen gaming. Um, now that we've seen the prices, we've seen the whole rush for pre-orders, the specs on the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X, Series S, not to be confused with the One X and the One, the just Microsoft's weird naming convention that did them no favors, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh no, it did them a lot of favors. They got that extra money.
I mean, yeah, absolutely, right?
I feel like most of those are going to be returned, though.
Yeah, but at
Yeah,
this point, the stores have already sold them, so the stores have already bought the ones to give to the consumers. Microsoft already got the money.
yeah, yeah. So, so let's talk console gaming for a second, right? Like, or just gaming in general. With the, your options really are console gaming, PC gaming. We don't really talk about mobile gaming. That's a whole different thing. Like, it's not. I'm not gonna say it's not a market, but it is a very different kind of share of the market, right? Like,
Yeah.
not like they're getting better, especially with now like cloud streaming and all that stuff. But for the sake of like today's discussion, we'll ignore mobile and we'll focus on our experiences on consoles and PC games. Now, like I know me personally, I grew up with PC first foremost. Consoles were sort of a thing I picked up, um, which is weird since my first console technically was a ColecoVision, and that predates my first computer. Although that there wasn't exactly super amazing uh selection there. I don't know if anyone's seen the ColecoVision, but that was like before we realized what controllers are, and the control for the ColecoVision were literally a knob and a number pad. It's a
I've seen those.
it's
They function. I'll leave it at that.
it was an experience, and I played Qbert on it, and that's I feel like the extent of what you can play on a ColecoVision. um, but how about you, Rabbit? What's your console PC experience?
Well, to be honest, the very first console I played was a original Nintendo that was obtained from a pawn shop. The SNES and Genesis was already out, and the N64 was swiftly approaching. But I started with the original NES and went on from there. So I have a lot. I have a lot of fun memories with both console and PC because I did also play PC games over at my uncle's house. I want to say I can't remember the name of the game, but it was one of the ones on DOS where you have these little tanks and you just try to lob shells at each other, destroying the surrounding terrain, stuff like that. It was a fun time.
How about you, Bray?
This is going to make me feel old again.
Listen, I pulled out
Uh,
ColecoVision.
I'm going to one up you. My first PC was the Commodore 64.
I mean, it's about the same time.
Yeah, so Big Bird Delivery was a game on it, and my sister was obsessed with that one. But I literally played a game that was, I think, called Mr. Face, which sounds like a horror game now, right? Like it sounds like straight up Five Nights at Freddy's
I
now.
mean, it sounds like it involves
Um,
clowns, and I want nothing to do with it.
but no, it was literally like a virtual potato head,
I mean, that's not
and
terrible.
No. But I'm saying the game being called Mr. Face
Oh yeah, no, that's
sounds like
100% in
a
2020.
nostalgia horror game.
That would be a horror game. It's like this is Mr. Face, and like dark dramatic music would play. It'd be like evil
Yeah,
laughing.
it'd be like, we're teaching your kids emotions, and then like it's gonna be like the emotion of fear. Um, but um, so yeah. Let's see. My first console was not until the N64. That in fact that is the only like console hooked to a TV I've ever owned. I think. Is the N64. In which I played Mario Kart, and I don't remember any other game for it.
You started console gaming relatively late then. That's like what, third or fourth gen is in 64? I don't remember how they gens because
I
console gens
believe
are
that would
weird.
I believe that would be third gen because I think NES or Famicom is considered first gen, despite Atari coming before it.
Yeah, first gen is up to 1984.
Okay, so yeah, that'd make N64 third gen.
And I did play games on my friend's, what was it, the Dreamscape?
Oh,
Oh, the Dreamcast.
Dreamcast, that's right.
Such a
Yeah.
beautiful machine.
Yeah, so we played a lot of Soul Calibur on that.
yeah.
And
So apparently, the ColecoVision is considered a second gen home console.
Hmm.
Did not know that. Yeah, that's actually kind of surprising.
apparently N64 is next generation 2,
Yeah,
but it's
because
the
the
fifth generation of
NES,
video.
yeah, and NES is third gen,
Yeah.
so that makes Super Nintendo fourth and or
Ugh.
fifth, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew the console gens numbered weird because like first gen is like super not home console, but is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the
Eh,
Magnavox Odyssey. Oh boy.
yeah, and honestly, with how most people say that the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 was the, I want to say, fifth generation of console normally, that's what people normally call it. You tend to think, okay, NES is first.
And no, sadly it's not. But you know, that's yeah. It
C'est
it
la vie.
it is what it is. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
think I actually had a Wii too.
I think
Now that I'm
everybody had
thinking
a
about it.
Wii.
Yeah, but I just used it for like the Just Dance. So
I mean,
like I'm making myself sound like a horrible gamer here, and it's just no, I just
you're a
play
PC
games on
gamer more than a
console.
console gamer, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. Um, I, you know,
Like, let me think of the most casual games on consoles, and that's the ones I play.
well, you're not a console gamer. That's simple. That's fair.
Yeah. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with casual games either. Games are games as long as
No.
you're having
Yeah,
fun.
no.
Yeah, 100%.
Uh, I
Yeah.
bought a Switch earlier this year because I was gonna start playing games on it, and I let my mom start playing Animal Crossing on it.
Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I never,
not her Switch anymore.
yeah, I don't ever see it, and I have games for it, but I don't get to. If I wanted, I have to get it at like 3 a.m.
It's fine.
Mm.
You can let your mom have that one and just buy the Switch Pro when it comes out next year.
I mean, I seriously might, because I was just going for like, oh yeah, finally like games are coming out on the Switch that I'm interested in, so I'll get it. And then my sister was apparently absorbed in the one she bought for her son, and
So it sounds like your family has a tendency take their child's electronic devices and make it their own.
but they can't take the PC, so
I feel like
see,
your mom might if she could. If there was anything that
no,
interested her enough on it, she might.
she gets frustrated on the PC, and I bought her a laptop, so
Ah, that's fair. Yeah, there you go. So she doesn't have to take yours. She just has a laptop. It's
yeah,
all good. Yeah,
yeah.
that's fair. All right, that's fair. Um, yeah. So we've got a weird varied experience, right? Like I've been playing PC games and console games since ColecoVision and Windows 3.11. Wow, I feel old. Wow. Just saying
Wait,
that out loud is just like, wow. Okay.
does that make like Oregon Trail a version of Dark Souls?
No, because
No.
Dark
I mean,
Souls
just
is
trying to
kinder than
survive and
Oregon
die in.
Trail.
Yeah, be like randomly like it'd be like if a Dark Souls you randomly just dropped dead, not even just like
It's
and it'd
your
be like you
fault
died of
if you
dysentery.
die in Dark Souls. In Oregon Trail, the game just wills if you live or die. It is outside of your
Yeah,
control. 100%.
and what's worse is you almost always named all your like people on the Oregon Trail after like friends and family.
Oh
So
no,
it'd
see,
just be
I
like
didn't
this.
do that because that's terrible because everyone dies in Oregon
I
Trail.
know that's the point though. It was like this macabre contest to see like it was our version of the Hunger Games too. It was like who's gonna die
See, I feel like
first.
I didn't play Oregon Trail that way. I I know most people did. I didn't. I also didn't play Oregon Trail a whole lot. I was playing stuff like the DOS Rescue Rangers or 1984's Ghostbusters or like ZZT, which is a thing I guarantee you none of you
See,
have heard.
but they let you play Oregon Trail at school.
Oh, see, my school let me play Ghostbusters. I played 1984's
Oh, see, no.
Ghostbusters.
See, my school like was like any game you play has to be educational. So everyone played Oregon Trail because I don't like. I guess that's semi-educational. I don't know. It teaches you the order of states.
I,
No,
Um.
it teaches you that everybody died in history.
yeah, yeah. It teaches you that history was hard and the Oregon Trail was full of
um.
suffering.
So yeah, basically,
Yeah.
and everyone you love is gonna perish. Apparently, that was. It's like no
Yay!
wonder millennials grew up the way they did. we,
Yeah.
Yay!
we were trained since we were young on Oregon Trail that like economy sucks and
Ah, the
no
economy
matter
didn't really
how
factor
prepared you
into it.
are.
Government didn't really factor into it at all. We just left and we traveled across the land and we all died
Yeah, but you
horribly.
had to like you
We
had to like have a certain amount of money that you were willing to do it, and then like
true.
at different places they would buy for different things,
Yeah.
and so it was like yeah, it was like you're inevitably you were screwed and out of money.
Yeah. We all
It was
got
like
dysentery or we got shot.
and it was the millennial experience. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
But we've come a long way since then, right? Like now we've got our fancy PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series S. I mean, so the thing that's really important to note, right? Like back then there wasn't the same kind of discrepancy, right, in terms of performance between what a console is and what a PC is. That first couple generations, they were basically the same thing. Like
Yeah.
NES games were on DOS, they looked a little different, but basically the same thing. ColecoVision games, absolutely just PC games. like, like, like Commodore
Yeah.
64, just a different type of PC.
Yeah.
Uh,
And on that same route, whenever things start getting more advanced, with PCs, they even came out with the PC engine as a home console, which was on par with PC at the time. So
yeah, we didn't really start seeing that separation until I don't even want to say PlayStation. Like even then, like it wasn't that hard for them to port PlayStation stuff to PC, right? Like Final Fantasy VII came out and like it was like, oh, super amazing, and it didn't take that long for them to port that to PC. It wasn't a super good port. It was a little rough around the edges, but like everything back then was rough around the edges.
oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
like what what year Final Fantasy came out in '97, and the PC version came out. Did the PC come out? PC version came out. They're not a year. I'm seeing all sorts of things about who did it. why is why is there not a year? '98. So it took a year, right? So that's pretty reasonable. we're lucky if we can see games come out in a year because of all exclusivity deals and all sorts of nonsense like that, right? Like that's a thing. Um, but back then, like 90s, mid early 90s, like
Mhm.
that's fast. That's big turnaround because it's not like now where they're building the ports at the same time, working together, right?
Yeah.
Like that was just like we built this PlayStation game. Great, we
Well,
hired Eidos to make the game over again. Good luck with that.
Mm.
that continued for a long time too.
Yeah.
With the they were not building the port at the same time because I just checked and Assassin's Creed 1 came out in 2007
Yeah, that
and
didn't
then came to
really start happening till like PlayStation 3 era, I want to say.
well, Assassin's Creed was PlayStation 3
It was, but that was like
and
early in PlayStation 3, wasn't it?
November
Yeah.
2007. So
Yeah.
it came out to
Yeah.
Xbox 360 and PlayStation.
We didn't start seeing like simultaneous development until really late. Even then,
Mhm.
like if they were, it was like Xbox version, PlayStation version, right? Like we didn't see that PC simultaneous development. That's relatively new. But like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's why people to this day are still wanting, Xbox 360 and PS3 emulation for the
oh,
computers because they
absolutely.
won't be able to play those games in a better resolution.
But
It's not even the resolution for a lot of people. It's freaking they didn't port the controls right and
yeah.
Well,
you have to
that
Well,
play with the controller
well that
or
too. I'm just also saying, there's a lot of people who are saying them graphics.
glorious
like
HD.
see like when I first played Assassin's Creed, their port sucked to the PC. It sucked so much for the first one. To the point where there were still instructions on press B and stuff and it's like I'm not playing with a controller that will do nothing. And yeah, but it was still popping up and I don't know if I played it before patches and if they I'm sure they've completely fixed that now. But yeah, I remember getting that and still just getting instructions on how to do things with controllers in the load screens. And I was like, thanks, but I can't do that.
I feel like when we started getting that divergence where like there was a serious performance difference between PC and console, I want to say that started about PlayStation 2, right? Like that's when the PC sort of master race philosophy sort of really took root. Like we saw a little bit of it, but no one really considered that because like they were so vastly different in terms of like what kind of games were being put out. But like PlayStation 2 era, when we really started seeing that huge focus of being all, PC's better frame rate, better graphics, better textures, and
And
sort
yeah,
of
Mhm.
like as like a necessary part of console development, right? So PlayStation 2 onward, it was more about what is the most affordable way we can make that significant jump from the previous generation's performance, right? Like PlayStation 2 did that whole weird cell architecture. Was it PlayStation 2 or 3? No, 2 was cell architecture, right? Yeah,
Hmm?
2 or 3.
I believe it was two. Yes,
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
where
I
they
could
try
be wrong though.
where Sony was like, "Hey guys, we got this new technology that we're gonna build. Super good. It's gonna be amazing. Super good." And, like everyone else just went, "Why?" Everyone's just like,
Oh wait, no,
"You have a
that
perfect."
might have been. Yeah, that might have been the PS3 then, because they said they bragged about the PS3 smoothing as it was known.
Well, yeah, they had developed their whole like entire different like computing architecture. I think that was 3
Yeah.
because I think Sony was just like, "We don't believe in doing what everyone else is doing. We got a better way." And everyone else in the world was just like, "Why? There's a perfectly good computer over there. even Mac at that point. I think that was when Mac switched over to Intel, wasn't it? So
I think so.
even
Yeah.
Apple was just like, yeah, why? There's a perfectly good CPU over there. Just use it. Um, and that's sort of when we reached the point where consoles, by necessity, stopped being about. Um, I don't even want to say they were ever about competition with PC, right? Like they aren't. But that's sort of where they reached the point where it stopped being about innovating and it started being about what's the next fancy buzz thing that we can slap on at the cheapest price. So like
Yeah.
it we had a good run on like the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. They even milked it a little bit with the pro versions.
A
You know,
little bit.
yeah, yeah, a little bit.
Are you sure? Just a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. We'll say a little bit. Like because that has to be the longest gen that we did for a console, I think.
Oh no, longest gen was the 360 and PS3 because that was 10 something years.
Was it?
Hmm.
Wow, it doesn't feel like it.
I know, but it was.
But
I don't know. Seeing these dates is just making me feel sad. I'm just like,
we milked the heck out of like PS4, Xbox. You know the problem is right. Like Xbox One, PS4, they had the disadvantage of right after those systems came out. Like we made a pretty significant advancement in display tech. Like it was
Yeah,
like 1080p. They launch and like this is super amazing 1080p, and they're like, oh by the way, this thing called 4K, and it went from high end electronics to like average consumers buying a 4K TV. I mean, not
I
everybody was, but it reached that point of saturation where you could.
yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, me personally, I refuse to buy a 4K TV because the ones that I could afford, they're so small that they're not really reaching 4K. It's pseudo 4K. Because if I want 4K, I'm essentially going to need a movie theater screen.
Ah, no, 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 no. I mean, the TCL 4K is at like 40 something inches. They're perfectly reasonable.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like in general, the smaller ones they give you a pseudo 4K, whereas the larger ones give you the true. And
Yeah,
even then, it's really more or less just color depth and a little bit
yeah.
extra sharpness.
I mean, you pay for all the bells. But actually, that's sort of the
Yeah.
whole thing with consoles, right? Like the bells and whistles. Like the thing that stopped
Hmm.
us on the current gen was we needed to do that transition in the 4K. So that's where we got the PS4 Pro, which is the dumbest 4K conversion ever. I will say this every single time. You're Sony, you make the 4K HD player. Why does your console not have the 4K disc player? Why can I not play Ultra HD on the PS4 Pro?
This is a very good question.
You literally make the drive. You won the format war. You make the thing that plays the thing. But whatever. At least they put it in the new gen console, but that's a whole other thing. But like, we had
Yeah.
that weird soft launch of a new sorta not really console. And
Yeah.
that wasn't really necessary, right? Like we hadn't reached that technology breakpoint. AMD and Intel, they didn't do that big whatever push that they needed to justify a new console. But at the same time, the format came and changed, and 4K sort of became, I don't want to say the standard, but like the expectation.
Hmm.
Um, so now we have reached that point, right? Like AMD won that war this time. It's been Intel for the longest time, but AMD won this war. There's this graphic. Let me see. Pop up. A little big, but also a little small. Covers Bray up a little bit.
Bow, bow,
Um,
chicka, bow, wow.
um, yeah. So there's this chart. Conveniently. Um, sorry, I have someone who's interested in possibly joining us as a third person. But yeah, so there's this chart Um, it sort of covers um, it's in Japanese, so that's super
Yeah.
not helpful. But it sort of covers the hardware specs, right? So
Yeah.
the PlayStation 5 does it a little differently than Xbox. Microsoft did this weird thing this gen where the Series S and the Series X are actually two different consoles. It's super weird. I
Yeah,
don't get it in terms of like user experience. I understand it in terms of like a price marketing, right? It's like half the price almost. I
yeah,
I understand. In terms of actual performance though, I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit because there's no way that anyone's going to make a game that only plays on the Series X and not the Series S.
true. Though I do think that as weird as it is, them having two different consoles coming out at the same time, it's actually a fairly smart business move because the people who are big Xbox fans, they'll buy the Series X. But those who can't afford a PC or aren't hardcore Xbox fans, and they just want something that's more affordable that they can play the newest games on, they're going to go with the Series S because of the cheaper price point and the financing options.
Oh, absolutely.
What
Um,
are the differences between the price points? Like, I did not even know they're coming out with two.
okay, so each one is doing a price like differential. One second.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, wasn't the
Yeah,
Xbox Series S around 300 USD and Xbox Series X 400 USD in total?
yeah. I had to pull up the a US dollar pricing because that's in Japanese yen and regional pricing makes that weird. Also, they're all doing store. There's a lot of hidden prices in the way that these consoles are being um, managed. Also, hello, Dahlia.
Hi.
Oh,
I don't
hello.
have a picture for you. You could pop me one. I can get you a thing to put up on screen.
Are you sure?
But we were just in the middle of talking about the differences between the Series X, the Series S, and the discless and disc versions of the PS5.
Oh, okay.
Um, being asked about pricing, I need to pull up because the graphic I have up is in Japanese, and Japanese regional pricing is weird. And so the Xbox Series X, which is the better one, by a large margin, is
Yeah.
about 500 US, and the Series S, which is the discless version that has less performance, is about $300. Um, and the PS5 prices are 500 for the disc version, and I believe it's 400 for the discless. Let me just double check
Yeah.
on the discless pricing. I think that's correct for the discless pricing.
Wait, I thought it was. I thought the PS5 was about $100 more than the Xbox Series S. I could be wrong on that. I've only seen the prices side by side once.
Yeah,
So
so the PS5 is $500 for the disc and 400 for the discless. Um,
hmm.
the pricing is a little different for those because there's that whole thing about um, their whole performance issue. Like the Xbox is weird because they did this whole thing where their console is significantly different.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know why. Like genuinely, I don't know why. It's in terms, let me put it this way. In terms of like actual like I'm an end user, right? Like purchasing. I don't know why they would ever do that because you're going to want to buy the cheapest one. And that makes sense, right? Like, I'm not gonna buy the more expensive one. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think the Series S also doesn't have a disk drive. I think it's all digital.
yes, that is correct. So if you take a peek at I don't know if you can see that well on the stream. I will share this to you guys in the chat so you know what specifically I'm referencing. There we go. That'll render. Yeah. So performance-wise, the PlayStation 5 is pretty much the same regardless of what version you get. The primary difference of the two versions, you're paying $100 for an Ultra HD disk drive. Which, when I
Yeah,
say that, out loud, actually feels really stupid.
it is. It is because I think you can get an Ultra HD disk drive for what, around $50 on its own or something like that.
I think I paid 80 for my LG one that I have in my computer,
Hmm.
which again feels real stupid to say out loud a little bit. Um,
Yeah, and let's be honest. I'm just going to point this out here. The main reason they're charging that extra $100 for the disk drive on the PlayStation 5 variant that has one is because they're trying to force the people who want the backwards compatibility function to play their hard copies of games. So they're gonna buy out more, or they're gonna rebuy the digital versions of the game. So it's literally them milking consumers for money.
so this is a weird thing since we're specifically on this topic, right? Like, I can't recommend for most people even considering the disc version in terms of a like practical bang for your buck scenario, right? Like, um, it doesn't make any sense. There is no reason that you should buy it because I'm going to assume it works exactly like the PlayStation 4 does, which is when you put the disc in, it only uses the verify and it just installs it onto the hard drive anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just inconveniencing yourself for a disc. Um,
Boo.
right. Like, it's super weird. It feels kind of dumb, and you're paying $100 for this inconvenience. Now the one use case where this makes any sense is if you bought real heavily into discs for PlayStation 4. And
Me.
right. So like it's the only time it makes sense because as a person who bought heavily into the PS4, you're like, "Oh, well, damn. I I'm dumb. I sort of screwed myself because I didn't know like yeah, I mean like here's the thing, right? Like your average person doesn't know that's how that worked. So they sort of bought into discs because conventional wisdom is if you buy the disc, it's better. It's not on PS4. It wasn't. You kind of played yourself. I did the same thing. I'm dumb. I bought a lot of discs. I stopped eventually. But like I have games that are disc only. So if I get a PS5 and I'm like, "Oh, I want to play my PS4 discs because I'm not going to have both consoles hooked up because there's no reason because it's 100% backwards compatible." Or I'm sorry, I think they said it's not 100%. It's something stupid like it's like 99% because they don't want to be that guy who's like it's 100% and someone finds like this obscure game and they're like, hey, my one game doesn't work. um, but like it doesn't make sense to buy into it if you have that existing library and not go for the disc. So you kind of played
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah. And
unfortunately.
it and if you're like me and bought a lot of disc, normally it's because you like owning a physical copy of everything instead of just relying on servers, or you want the collectability of it, which is something I do. I mean, I still have all the disc for the original Dot Hack games because I wanted them,
But
but
yeah, like that is
it's
what
just,
most of us feel, right? Like we're just
yeah,
like, yeah, we should we should buy the disc version because what if I don't have internet, or what if something
But
happens?
it's kind of transferred out of that now. Like it's
Yeah, it sucks now, basically.
now like the now I'm just annoyed that they don't offer collector's edition stuff for digital copies because it's like, no, I don't want the disc. Like but I do want that statue. There's a difference.
Yeah, I'm the statue collector sucker. Also, Dahlia, welcome to the stream. You have a thing now that shows up when you talk, supposedly.
Neat.
Yeah, there we go.
Huzzah.
Magic.
Mhm.
That took a little longer than I said. I said it'd only take about 2 minutes, but talking and doing a thing takes a little bit. Yeah, so it, if we look at it, right, like because of what they did in the PS4, and they sort of presumably carried over PS5, and if nothing else, because of how it worked on PS4, if you own that library and you didn't buy heavily into digital, you've kind of shot yourself in the foot. You have to pay the $100 extra for the extra PS5. Xbox
Essentially,
is
yeah.
weird because like they don't care because they're doing everything on xCloud now.
Yeah.
So like they don't even care if you buy the console. So realistically, they don't care if you buy Series X or Series S. They just care you want the game. You paid them for the game. You play it on whatever the heck platform you want, because they're probably going to try to sell on every platform that'll take it.
I guess the thing about them that's boggling my mind is just looking at this list. Why buy just the slightly different Radeon RDNA 2? Like, what they didn't have to,
Right?
but they bought the base version.
Right. That's the thing that's actually boggling my mind. Like when I looked at this chart, I was like, "Oh, Series X is just the S with a disc." Then you look
It's
at
like
it, you're
you
like,
picked the one that's worse. Why?
it's like,
There's
wait a
no
second,
need.
why? Why is it so much worse?
Because
It's
they can justify the price point. Like then, I could understand like the 500 then if they picked it, but it's like it's already like it's 2 teraflops behind to start with.
yeah.
So it's like, wait a minute, why are you choosing?
It's
So there's a part of my brain is like, wait.
yeah. It's actually kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So like this whole gen is super weird. Like there's pros and cons to everybody's choice, right? Like if the Series X went with a lower clock speed but better like processing power and presumably better bandwidth for graphical processing, and the memory for the RAM, they're basically the same. I know it says technically the Xbox Series X is faster potentially, but realistically they're basically the same. The processing's
Yeah.
pretty close. I think the thing that actually is not covered in this that hurts Sony a little bit is the GPU and the CPU share a processing lane. So if you aren't familiar, like that's not exactly what's going on, but like if you're not familiar with the issue that Sony did when they built their console this gen, is basically you can power the CPU more or you can power the GPU more. You can't power both at full. What that actually means in terms of performance theoretically doesn't mean anything. Kind of.
Yeah.
Because if you're a good programmer, you go, okay, I'm building it for the PlayStation 5. I know what that means. In practice, that first wave of games, they're gonna be real bad. Because no one knows what they're doing. And it kind of doesn't help that they made it worse by making that decision, right? Like that's just a weird decision. So we're gonna see this weird thing because Sony went all in this gen for like exclusivity. Uh, Microsoft kind of went the other way and said, I don't care, buy whatever you want, as long as I get paid for the game, I'm happy. Which I think long term is probably gonna help their sales overall. I think Sony's probably gonna win the console war, but the question is, does that matter?
I honestly have to say, I don't think them winning the console war between them and Xbox is going to matter because what it all comes down to is total income earned, which
Yeah.
things like Game Pass and how all their games are going to be multi platform, Microsoft's going to get more money out of this.
Absolutely. It also helps that Sony's paying them money. Um, I don't know who here is familiar with this, but I think it was last year or it was like late last year, early this year. Um, Sony, the parent company, not Sony Online Entertainment or the gaming company, like the division, like the parent company basically went, we don't feel like investing in cloud service anymore. This is dumb. There's lots of people who have cloud service, so they turned to Microsoft and went, hey, you guys have a cloud service, can we use yours? And Microsoft went, sure, let's sign a contract. And I mean, you're very well aware how much the Sony gaming division like despises Microsoft and is like constantly trying to one up them. So big parent Sony didn't tell the gaming division that this was happening until they announced it.
Oh no.
So there was just a press conference where Sony's like, we're partnering with Microsoft to use their established cloud service for all our cloud service things. And they're just like, that applied to the gaming company? And the gaming
I'm sorry,
company
what?
the gaming company got like asked this at press time, and really they could just be like, wait, what?
There was some like poor intern who has to like bring the news into the room, and you just see the person in the room just go, "I'm sorry, what now?"
Right. So I have no idea how that actually resolves. So like I don't know if Sony's gaming service is using Microsoft Cloud Server. They have to be, because if like
Yeah.
Sony, the parent company, which is like, we don't want to invest in this anymore, it's too much hassle. That means that Sony and their PlayStation Cloud gaming service is just running on Microsoft servers at this point, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, and also explains why they haven't been hacked in a while.
Yes. So I feel like going into this, right, like Sony might have won this console war. Like the Series X performance-wise looks better. I think the Series S is garbage. I don't think anyone should ever buy a Series S. It's terrible. It's $100 more. Just buy the one with the disc. That's just flat better. It's like if you were to buy a PlayStation 4 or 4 Pro right now, why would you ever buy the not Pro? That's exactly what Sony did for its launch, and it makes no sense. It shoots them in the foot long term in terms of console performance, because you have to optimize those games independently. And that just makes some developer interns somewhere real sad, because he's like, I have to balance this for the Xbox One, the Xbox One X, the Series S, and the Series X.
And you want to know what also it does? It makes it to where a lot of consumers can get really hard screwed, because here's a true story about the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. When they updated to operating system version 4.75, yes, I remember the number,
Oh.
it was optimized purely for the PlayStation 4 Pro.
Of course it
And
was.
a bunch of people who upgrade to that operating system, because it's a forced upgrade if you want to use the online function, it bricked their hard drives on the original PlayStation 4s. I was one of these people.
Oh no.
And whenever I called in to try to get Sony to, take care of it because warranty and all that, their whole solution was, oh, just send us the console and $300 and we'll fix it. Wait, what? I'm sorry? Yeah, send us the console and $300. I have a warranty. Yeah, but the warranty doesn't involve things like this. The warranty is for if damages are made. There are damages.
It's like you
You
caused
didn't
them.
code this properly. So eventually, after weeks of fighting with them, I said, screw it, I'll do it myself. So I went and got myself a brand new 1 terabyte laptop drive for the PlayStation 4, installed an operating system on my own, and just fixed it myself because Sony was not willing to do it.
See, you are slightly more technical savvy than the average console user, which is not a slight against console users, mind you. Like it is just, you don't want to learn how to do it, you don't buy a PC, you buy a console, right? Like that's fair. Which they kind of count that you can't do that yourself.
I mean, they weren't honoring the warranty anyway, so screw them.
Well, yeah, like that's messed up. But yeah, so like, yeah, this is our tech.
So you're saying buying a console is sort of like buying a Mac?
Yes,
Yeah, pretty
100%
much.
yes. I think Sony is sort of the worst offender about that. Like, Nintendo are usually okay about it. Microsoft, they're a little like they'll try to maneuver you into a different solution, but push comes to shove, they'll generally fix it as long as you didn't personally screw it up.
Mhm.
Sony just doesn't want to. Sony doesn't want to do a lot. Weird. Um, but yeah, so like that's the thing, right? Like, this gen is super weird because normally it's been we have technology that's better than the previous gen and it's reached the price point. Upgrade. So that was the PS3 to the PS4. That was the 360 to the Xbox One. Nice smooth transition. We hit a weird bumpy ride when we hit 4K, like widespread adaptability, because like those consoles were not ready for 4K, so they had to push out their like weird console version 1.5. This gen is super weird because everyone's just doing weird things. Like, Microsoft did their two consoles that are basically two different consoles. And Sony just decided they were going to do this weird pipeline thing. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know why. It is just a thing. I think ultimately when it comes to console games, they're all going to look fine. They're all going to play mostly fine as long as we don't get like another weird Arc style game, because Arc's optimized like garbage. That runs terrible on any system. Don't care what it is. You could be like $50,000 like super fine tuned like quad graphics card, like 8 processor server monstrosity. It'll still run terrible.
Yeah.
Um, and so like we've sort of reached this point where you either spend 800 to like $2,000 for your reasonable PC to your like high end PC, or you drop $600 for a below average but graphically stable console, right? Like, because that's sort of been the saving grace of console. You know exactly what the console is, so you can program for it, so you can get away with weird tricks. Like, that's entirely how the Switch works right now. Like, it is
Yeah.
just 100% some dude cramming optimization fixes into every single game, and it barely passes. Like 30 to 40 frames. Skyrim on Nintendo Switch, which is just your Android phone. Like, it's amazing. But that's sort of the advantage of a static console, right? Like, we sort of reached this interesting point because the 30 series graphics cards came out for PC this month. And a lot of people are like, 4K, who plays on 4K? I want my frames, cuz PC gamers are weird. We're a little different than console gamers, because these are like the tenets of the console gamer: exclusivity, good graphics, 4K, HDR. That's the console gamer tenet. PC gamers are like, no, 4K is terrible. Play at 1440 or 1080 and get like
Exactly.
300 frames. You just turn those graphics settings down to low. I'm playing my like competitive FPS. I don't care about graphics. I just need to see the dude to shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
Um, but we sort of changed that a little bit with the 30 series cards, right? Like, these are the first cards that are supposed to give you that 60 frames up on high, reliable 4K performance, which it mostly delivers.
Key term being mostly.
Mostly because we've run into some problems. The big thing now is that apparently the 3080 cards are crashing.
No.
So this is not affecting any of the Founders Edition cards, because the Founders Edition cards are the benchmark cards. So they are just the cards as made by NVIDIA. But if you aren't familiar with the way NVIDIA works is they license out their cards to other companies. And all the companies want to try to prove that they're the better version of the card. So they overclock them. So yesterday it was discovered that a whole bunch of these cards are crashing the desktop. And like there's fixes that make the problem less. And I think
Oh no.
and I think they finally figured out sort of what's causing them. Not like 100%, but apparently it's a capacitor issue. It's what EVGA is saying. They're saying that the capacitor seems to be a contributing problem, and it has something to do with the way that they overclock these cards, causing stability problems, and it's doing the like straight crash to desktop. So the reason that these temporary fixes of just like underclocking the card, undervolting, all the stuff is that basically it can't control. The overclock basically blows out the power and it causes the card to freak out, and it crashes. So
Like the worst thing ever when you get a new cover card.
100%.
Imagine all those people who bought their cards on day one and had to deal with the scalpers and everything. They were like scrounging for that card, only for it to be dead in the water.
Yeah, so if you
Yeah.
bought a third-party 3080 card right now, you are having crash to desktop problems. Now, if you bought a benchmark card, because a lot of people only ever buy the Founders Edition cards because that lets you manually tweak things, right? Like, so you don't have to worry about like default overclocking or overvolting.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the like super tech people absolutely just bought the Founders Edition, the Redfish benchmark, and they're just whatever. And they're probably laughing at all the people who bought like the super performance, ultra tuned, optimized cards, which
The ones who wait on the Best Buy website hoping and praying for something.
you gotta kind of wonder, right? Like how this made it through quality control, because it's been less than a week before like this was a widespread enough problem that they've isolated the issue. How did these cards make it through quality control? Like that's
I don't think anyone will ever know the answer to that.
Lots of effort.
yeah. What the other problem is? This isn't the only problem with these cards. So
Oh no! Next, you're gonna tell me that they're transforming into small Decepticon robots and taking over the world.
no, so this one is actually.
I mean,
hearing
that
that.
fits 2020, and I'd be fine with it. So
So this
We're
one.
at that point where nothing surprises me anymore.
This one's kind of a weird problem because this is actually to do with NVIDIA's choice to use the new PCIe 4.0. This isn't really their problem per se. It is a side effect of their decision to go with the higher bandwidth. So obviously, higher PCIe, better bandwidth, better stuff, all that stuff, whatever. Most people don't have a PCIe 4 slot because most people have computers that are, a year old or older. And PCIe 4 has only been out for a few months. Like it's a relatively new bus standard. Here's the problem. The 2080 Ti could potentially use up the bus on the PCIe 3. The 3080
I have no idea what that means in this situation.
the 3080 is technically twice as fast as the 2080. The 2080 Ti is slightly faster than the 2080. So if the 3080 is twice as fast as the 2080, which is a card that almost uses up the whole bus, you can see where there's a problem. Now, the 2080 Ti bus issue generally wasn't an issue, right? Because most cards are in the topmost slot, which is generally an independent slot, and so it's not sharing a bus channel with like any of the other components on the board. Those potentially could have been things like, your NVMe drives, other devices, things like that. So your average user would never notice this problem with the 2080 Ti because it would be an independent bus. You'd have to be like a very specific type of thing to overload the PCIe 3 on the 2080 Ti. So the 30 series cards are technically compatible with the PCIe 3s because they're backwards compatible because that's just good practice.
Mhm.
The problem with that is, when we go back to the original point I said, where PC gamers are weird, and we like to go less or frames. If you're using the 30 series cards as they're intended, playing 4K games at 4K, at like mid to high, you're pushing 50, 60 frames. That's never going to use up the bus because most of the processing is texture stuff and that's done on the card. That's what the memory on the card is for. We don't do that on PCs normally. We push those frames. So there's that guy who bought himself a 3080, put it into his PCIe 3 slot because he's not going to spend $800 on the card and then redo his motherboard and all of that because
Oh no.
no. And he's going to go into his game of Overwatch and he's going to crank those graphics down, turn off frame limit, and get like 400 frames on his card on his like 144 hertz monitor because he's stupid. Because he wants it as smooth as possible and he's not going to frame limit. Which, is fair to a certain point. That's going to use up all the bandwidth of your PCIe slot. Because in that weird situation with computers and things, the more information you're sending back and forth, because you gotta sync like whatever physics processing is going on with the CPU, with the GPU, and the rendering and all that stuff. Because PC gamers are weird and do stuff like this, you get this weird problem. If you're using a 3080 and you're that guy who doesn't want to play at 4K, and you want to push those frames as high as you can to get that benchmark, you've actually potentially hit the bus problem with the 3080 card. So all these early adopters of these 3080 cards are running into these weird problems because of stuff like this. There's the overclock issue. There's the potentially of overloading the bus. Which in fairness doesn't crash the thing. It just you're not getting the full performance because you're bottlenecking. So you're just losing performance that you would have gotten. You might get weird graphical issues here and there as a result of that. But yeah, next gen stuff right now is a little weird. Generally the whole idea was like if you go console, stable, go PC, good, and you got problems. This gen, everything's just weird. Consoles are weird. Card technology that we bought, super good. We've paid our $800 for our fancy new graphics card, and overloads the bus. um,
Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
so yeah, we've kind of gotten this weird thing where it's like, well, what do I do? I mean, so what do you guys think, right? I mean, Dahlia, I know like you sort of missed the part where we did the introduction. I know you're mostly PC gamer, right? You're not.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, you're not really big on a console. I'm sure you have played console, but like predominantly PC.
Oh yeah, there's currently a poor PS4 being neglected in my basement, and now I have I mostly play my Switch if anything if I go to consoles.
Yeah.
But if anything, it's just to watch all this. Okay, for starters, the whole console thing is complete ass, and I think that anybody who is thinking that any of these consoles are really going to hold up to what they're saying they're going to do, I highly doubt it. Especially with PlayStation pulling all that crap with like their backwards compatibility and everything they're going to be doing, it's just going to be a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad for anybody who bought that damn card.
Yeah.
Because to watch their site, because there's currently scalping bots, and that's why that was the reason that they went out so fast the initial time that they came back into stock for the Founders Edition. Did you guys see the campaign that was held on eBay to try and combat that?
No.
I did not.
I heard about
There was
people like having issues, but
there was some guy who I don't know what he was doing, but he was trying to destroy the bids that were going up quickly for the Founders Edition cards.
nice.
Because the
Mm.
scalpers were using bots to be able to buy them up quickly off the websites because none of the websites only care about making money. They don't give a shit about if if it's like a real person or a bot buying it, because there are bots now that are fast enough. They like even if it's like a super fast buy, if it's in your cart, it's gonna understand on the website like, oh shit, it's still not in stock right now.
Yeah.
Because people were like waiting for it to finally drop, and they refreshed it as soon as the minute hit to get the card, and it went to out of stock, or it went from pre-order to out of stock immediately. And it was just so sad. Some guy was looking on eBay and saw that all these people were already setting up like $500 to buy the card, $2,000 to buy the Founders Edition card. Like people were scalping hard and trying to fuck with the prices. So this guy said, "Okay, let's put a $10,000 bet on all these cards and never pay it." Because even if you win an auction on eBay, you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So he was essentially ruining it, so nobody would have to buy the cards. So these people who were scalping got stuck with the cards that they don't even really want.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's sad.
I mean,
I mean,
what's eBay gonna do? Cancel your account? Okay, just make another one.
Exactly.
yeah. And honestly, on the topic of bots and scalpers, there's actually a real easy way websites could combat this. A real easy way. And that is instead of paying attention to the IP and MAC address that things are being ordered from, they could just make it to where things are limited to actual home addresses. So if the system sees, oh, this home address is already having 2 things into it, we're putting a stop there, it can't do any more. Scalpers have to buy PO boxes at that point, and I guarantee you they aren't willing to buy more than 2 PO boxes because those things cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Never underestimate the guy who will flip a thing. Because there's going to be
I
that
mean,
guy who will buy like 80 boxes.
oh, there's always going to be that one guy, but that one guy is also an idiot. So.
Yeah, but he's the idiot that sits on the thousands of dollars of cards.
He would also be needing to. The thing is, the U.S. Postal Service does also keep up with those kind of purchases as well.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if you were to buy one, you would also need to set up several accounts, but they would notice that your ID can only match up to a certain amount of accounts.
Yeah.
It just
Mm.
they would get very much like stalled immediately on that one.
Yeah, it'd be an easy way to fix the problem, really. But companies want money, so
Yeah.
I mean, I can't blame them. That is business. Can't blame them.
This is true.
It's just resellers being resellers.
Mm-hmm.
So I take it
Seriously?
you are not super invested in buying a 3080 right now after this conversation.
Oh no, not at all. If anything, I was kind of gonna wait and see how they did in the market in the first place.
Hmm.
Because it's
Mhm.
like it sounded too good to be true that they were offering that good of power for that low of a price point. And that explains why, with all these issues happening right now,
Yeah.
they weren't. I think if anything, when they saw that things were getting leaked about the cards, I think they pushed up the date. I highly doubt that we were supposed to get them as soon as we did.
That's possible. I mean, in fairness, the baseline 3080, like if you get a Founders Edition that isn't overclocked, if it's just a base clock, it performs
Mhm.
as it's supposed to, does what it says on the tin, plays games at 4K. It technically will play a game at 8K in the sense that 30 frames is technically playing. Um, but I don't think anyone should play anything at 8K. Like if you're trying to play things at 8K, you are trying to play 4K games on a 1080.
Mhm.
So it's a bad choice. Um, the 3080 is an okay card. Um, on the caveat that like it is best suited for 4K content or driving like graphically intensive things like 3D. It is absolutely an improvement over the 2080 Ti. It is absolutely an improvement over the 2080. But at the same time, who needs a 2080? I bought one because I'm
Mhm.
stupid, and I spend my money like a stupid person. Bray will attest to that. I
Uh-huh.
guess I buy people things just because I feel like it. So I bought myself nice things. I did not need to.
Well, that's the rule like I learned from my father a long time ago because he was a surgeon So he could afford to buy super nice things. But his rule of thumb was always, when it comes to technology, you never need the best of the best. Uh, like, you almost never need the best of the best. You can get, because the second best or the third best tends to be significantly cheaper and only a little bit less as far as the technology goes. And that in you'll be able to buy the quote unquote best of the best in a year for much cheaper. Um, because they'll already have a new best of the best, because technology is just always rapidly, like, as soon as something gets released, it's archaic within a month.
Oh,
Um,
100%. My
so
my CPU
that's what I always do.
is generally considered terrible now, right? Because I'm only running an i7 9700K. That is like 3 years old now. 2 years old? It, either way, like not good. uh but I was doing the thing kind of like what Dahlia was, which was where I looked at the card and went, okay, this is the card I would like to get. Let's see what happens. So I was gonna buy a 3090, but I went, something about the 3090 seems not right.
Mm.
And it's not that the 3090 is wrong, right? Like if you're a gamer and you buy a 3090, yes, but it's not really for gaming. They advertise it for gaming, but the 3090 realistically is a render card, workstation card. It's for that person that needs to like render like a scene at 4K quickly and responsively as like a production workflow. And at that point, the
And
$1,400 price point makes sense.
right, because you're getting paid to do that, presumably.
Right.
So you get
Uh,
the money back by being paid.
I don't do 3D graphics. I don't get paid for it. And the performance difference between the 3080 and the 3090 does not equal 200% markup. Like that's the difference between a 3080 and a 3090. It's double. The performance difference is like, I think it's only like 20% for gaming. It's not insignificant. Like 20% is a lot, but it's not another $800 a lot.
I'd rather argue that almost nothing is worth another $800 a lot.
Uh, if it was like a 200% increase, okay. Like that's the performance increase between like a 2080 and the 3080, right? Like it's 100%, right? Like you should buy, if you are a gamer and you want to buy a good graphics card that will last you a while, 3080 base clock version. Do not buy the overclock version. Is absolutely the best $800 that you could spend on your computer, without a doubt. Do you have $800 to spend on your computer for the next 3 to 4 years? I don't know. I can't answer that question for you.
Well, the fairness though is that, like, the you're not only, when you upgrade a computer, you don't only do your graphics card.
Oh no,
It's not like
100%.
you're just like going like, oh well, I'm just gonna spend the $800 to make my computer better for 3 years. It's like, no, you're gonna spend like $1,000+ once you
Right.
add in everything else you have to upgrade.
Yeah, so you're looking honestly at like if you have not built a computer in the last 2 years, you can't seamlessly transition in the 3080. You have to spend about $1,000 at least just to change the motherboard, assuming that you got like compatible RAM and a compatible um chipset to do like a modest CPU upgrade. Um but like if we're talking about like is the 3080 worth $800 compared to what else is on the market? Yes. I would not buy a 20 series card right now because the 3080 exists. There's no reason. Like at all. If your budget is under like $300, buy like a 1660 or something. But I would not buy, like, if you're going to buy a graphics card, budget's pretty much either get a 1660 or buy a 3080. Going in between is just hurting you.
Why would you say that? Like, why is going in between hurting?
Because the 1660 is probably the best NVIDIA price to performance card that exists. If you go, what is the 1660? I think that's like a $300 graphics card right now, isn't it? I'd have to double check the price on that right now. 1660. It's like a $200 graphics card. Yeah. So yeah, $200 1660, absolutely 100% worth it, in my opinion. Going up to like a 20, anything below a 2080, you're paying more than the 1660 for not a significant boost in performance. So at that point, you're looking at like a 2080. The problem is they didn't adjust the 2080 pricing around the launch of the 3080s. And everyone's trying to offload their 2080s to get as much profit back as they can because they want to upgrade to the 3080. So right now, because of how just the market is, don't have a 3080, buy yourself a 1660, or wait for like a 2080 to go down in price. And that would be your middle step.
Right. Well, that's what I was considering doing right now because I don't trust it.
That said, if you're eyeing a graphics card and you're waiting a year for a graphics card and you can save the money, if you can, save for a 3080. That's why I'm saying it makes sense to go with a 1660 now or a 3080. We could talk about like AMD as sort of like the middle ground. And AMD offers you all sorts of middle ground for your price. They'll give you anything in the high performance variance between where the 1660 is at now and the 3080 is at now. I wouldn't recommend buying into that right now because they're going to be announcing their new graphics cards soon. And AMD has a better tendency to drop the prices on their cards. Don't even look at AMD right now. Wait till their new cards come out before you even look at those. And this is the complexity of being a PC gamer, right? I could tell you, buy a PlayStation 5 with a disk drive. If you have a PlayStation 4 library, if you have a mostly digital PlayStation 4 library, just buy the diskless one, save yourself $100, it doesn't matter. Because that's the weird thing with the PlayStation 5. It just $100 for a disk drive or not. If you're an Xbox,
or do
what?
I was gonna say, or do what I'm gonna do and just wait until all you find one with a disk drive in a pawn shop. It's gonna happen.
Oh, absolutely, because someone's gonna hate it. And if you're an Xbox person, I don't see why you wouldn't buy the Series X for $100 more because the Series S doesn't make sense. Here's the graphic again. It's $100 difference for a significantly better console. Just if you can't afford the $100, I get it, but like invest in the better console. That's the only advice I can do. If you're an Xbox person, invest in the better console. Just buy the Series X.
I thought you were going to say if you're an Xbox person, just buy a PC. All the games are going there too, anyways.
That too.
I mean, I would say that, but you're gonna be hard pressed getting a good performance $600 PC right now, just because like just the way the market is, just it's not gonna happen. So I get it. If you're on a budget and you're like looking at $500, $600 price point, buy the Series X. Or wait for PCs to go back down in price.
Yeah. I mean, especially since the Xbox Series S and X are both financed, so
yeah,
makes it a lot easier.
They are. Like, if you want to play Microsoft games, you're not gonna. This is the thing, right? This is ultimately what it comes down to with consoles. The consoles are cheaper and more affordable at the cost of less long-term performance. Can't upgrade a console. When the console comes out, they're as good as they're going to get. They're not going to get any better. They're just going to get worse. Because
Yep.
the games are going to get more robust. And that's just how that industry works. But if you only have $600 to spend, you like Microsoft's library, buy the Series X, don't buy the Series S. If you absolutely can't afford the Series X, then yeah, okay. I'm sorry. You're going to be buying the inferior console. If you're a PlayStation person, just buy the discless version. It doesn't make sense to buy the disc version. It really doesn't. I'm saying this as a person who, if I bought a PlayStation 5, has to buy the disc version because I have so many disc games on my PlayStation 4. It hurts. It hurts so much. I have to spend $100 extra for a disc drive. It hurts so very much.
Yeah.
Be like Bray, be like Dahlia. Play the Switch and buy a PC.
Yes. You
Well,
get everything you want otherwise.
what's funny is, like, you were just talking about, like, how okay, never. What is I'm confused now. I'm very easily confused, and that should shock no one.
What are you confused on?
Yeah. Oh no, that isn't a NVIDIA card. Okay, I was just like, no, GeForce is NVIDIA, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I got my 1050 Ti in 2016 because I'm looking at the order.
Yep.
And I paid $164.
Yep.
And that's why I was like, like, it's been 4 years. I should probably consider upgrading.
Yeah. No. If you were
Apparently
going to...
not. Like, apparently from what you're saying is no, I should
Well,
not.
so
consider upgrading.
there is a modest increase between the card that you have and the 1660. Wait, do you actually have a 1660 Ti?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so there is a modest increase. The 1660 Ti was the last card they released for the 10 series cards. So it was basically taking tech from the 20 series cards, applying it to the 10 series cards, and all the optimizations and stuff that they learned from an entire generation of graphics cards. So 1660 is basically the very best you can get out of a 10 series graphics card.
Right.
So it is like the best that you can get out of that series. It's only like $160 to $200. So, yeah.
So that's a worthwhile upgrade.
For most people. I don't know what the actual performance increase for your particular use case is. It might only be like 10%. I'd have to look into the specifics of that. Like, that's one of those things where, like, that's a very specific, like, parallel that you have to look into.
Right. I was just trying to figure out, like, when you were just like the 200, I mean the 20, like, just completely was not worth it, and like, wouldn't that still be an upgrade?
If you can get a cheap, not used 2080, yes. The problem is the 2080, when I last looked at them, which was, in fairness, about a month ago, so this was before the 30 series launch, they were still about $1,300. There is no reason for you to buy. Actually, wait, no, that's the 2080 Ti. I think the 2080, it's a little less than that. But there's 700, I think, for the 2080.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, I want to say like 20-30% over the 1660. But the problem is, why would you pay $700 for a 2080 when the 3080 is also $700?
Right. So okay, that makes sense. So unless we see like Black Friday sales.
Yeah.
Good.
Like, there is no reason to buy a 20 series card because
Okay.
the top end
That was my brain being slow.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah. So the top end 20 series card is 2080. That's like $1,300. The mid-range is the 2080, which is $700, which conveniently is the same price as the card that just came out. That's twice as good as it. So, that happened. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised, right? Like if people are trying to clear out their stock of 2080s come Black Friday, and you see like a $300 2080. At that point,
Mm-hmm.
maybe if it's like half the price of a 3080 for half the performance, but like as a person who owns a 2080 Ti, half the performance of a 3080 is still perfectly fine, right? Um, like I can't give you like that's the problem with PCs. This is the eternal struggle as the PC gamer. I can't give you a straight answer on what to buy because your budget, what you
Right.
play, everything you have factors in. It is an endless process of upgrading with PCs.
Right, but that also, like, as much as that can be an annoyance, it's also a pro in that you can get a lot of,
You can
like, you can be like, well, I'm just gonna upgrade my RAM right now,
yes.
and you can get like, you figure out what's exactly going to give you the most bang for your buck at the moment.
I'm gonna tell you, I up until this computer I have, which I sunk about $3,000 into it total. But that's also with various like upgrades for streaming and things that like add on extraneous costs that no normal person should be considering. Like I have a 4K capture card in my PC right now. I don't stream at 4K. I don't even have a 4K TV. The reason I got it is as a future-proof investment. Because I plan
So,
on going 4K for my next monitor upgrade. I'm currently using a 1080p TV, a 32-inch TV, as my single display.
I wish any of this shocked me.
But I needed a capture card. It supporting 4K for about $100 more made perfect sense as a long-term investment. But up until this point, my PC costs were generally about $600 to $700, and they would last me about 4 to 5 years. And that is how I've had computers for the last like 20 something years of my life because I am 34, and so most of my life was me piecemealing budget PCs and just sort of riding them to obsolescence.
Yes, exactly. Or
I
like,
was
I have made gaming computers for friends out of old parts.
yeah, like
Like, I had a friend that used the gaming computer I created, or she named it Frankenstein. Because it was out of my old like parts when I upgraded, and then out of my other friend's parts when he upgraded. So she got basically a computer that could play like all of the games just fine. It was just we were snobs and wanted slightly better, performance.
we
Um,
are in a weird spot this gen. Because what you are describing is absolutely how PC gaming worked. And sorta still works. You could absolutely spend $400, $500, $600 is the price of a console now, and ride that for 4 or 5 years, which is hey about the same lifespan as the console. And you could potentially get console performance plus a percentage.
and you don't just use a PC to play games. At least,
You don't.
Yeah.
The
Case in point,
downs.
the stream happening right now.
Yeah. And
it's
I'm
like,
weird, and I am single streamer. Like I'm a single PC streamer. That's part of also why I invested heavily into my rig because I didn't feel like buying a whole other rig for streaming on and then a whole rig for playing on.
I don't think you really need to do that underneath at least your circumstances. I don't think it's really, like, needed always to have 2 PCs, like, for the people who do that, I know it's, like, for power or they're having, like, multiple things running to, like, make their streams look more cool or something,
You
but
would
there's
be
really no need.
surprised how much this stream uses up of my system.
Well, no, like, I get that, but it's like, I know a person right now who I'm friends with who's a streamer, and he uses, currently 3 out and he's gonna be getting 4 PCs pretty soon because of all because he has custom apps to do certain different things on stream for him that he's made to, like, work and do, like, cool effects and everything like that. Like, I get that point, but it's like, unless you're trying to, like, do, like, multiple different things at once, to make that kind of, like, cool, like, edits or different transitions, stuff like that, I feel there's no need for a secondary streaming PC.
It depends on what your games that you're playing are. Like,
Exactly.
I have recently been playing Marvel's Avengers, and oh my god, that system optimization on that game is awful. Streaming
Well,
that game is terrible.
yeah, they did not optimize that game well for PC or console. It's just it's
It's
sad what happened.
they've
My
made it much
computer
better.
gets. We have tried to play it several times and like together, and our sessions end when my computer goes, "Nope, I'm done with this."
Yeah.
And so it's like about like 2 hours, and it'll be like, "Nope, oh, we're in the middle of a mission. Doesn't matter. I'm done, guys. It's my computer has declared it is
That
closing the game."
game hates streaming because I NVENC stream NVN code, and that game is almost all GPU. So I think if I stream that again, 4 games like days that I plan on streaming that, I have to switch to CPU streaming because it throttles the crap out of my graphics card and punches it in the head till it cries.
Oh.
It is real bad. Uh, I can play that game for about 4 hours on my fancy 2080 Ti before I have to close out and restart it because stuff just starts going real weird on that game if I play more than 4 hours. Uh,
I honestly assumed that like my fans were going bad, or
no, it is just
or that like somehow my something was my CPU was acting up or whatever, because it was making outrageous temperatures on my computer.
yeah. I tried streaming Modern Warfare, and that was another example of a game that would probably benefit strongly from a 2 PC rig setup. Um,
Mm.
Alternatively, you could do what most other first-person shooter people do and not be me and not play the game at max setting.
But where's the fun in that?
Right, because I drive a TV. So I have 60 hertz, 1080p on a 32-inch. It looks real nice because I run everything on max because it's only 1080p 60. But I run every game I play on max because I am the weird guy who just goes, I'm not playing on low at 200 frames. That's dumb. I don't have a
Quick
140 hertz monitor.
question for you, Seiji.
Yeah,
Why are you playing on max and not high? Max is normally 4K these days. High is 1080.
because if you max, it renders the nice textures and compresses them into a small thing, so those textures are extra crisp and extra nice.
Fair enough.
That's why everything I stream looks super nice and super smooth, because I'm rendering like max settings on a 1080p display. So I capture my streams at 1080 and I render them down to 720 for the output because my upload is terrible, and if I uploaded it at 1080 it would use up like all my upload bandwidth. Because I live in America in a state that's got internet from a company that's owned by Comcast. So my
Ew.
internet's bad. I have 11 megabit, I believe, up. So I bare minimum can support a 1080 stream.
Wait, you have 11 megabit up? I do 1080 60 with a 6 megabit up.
Yes, but how many people are using your internet?
And me and 2 others.
How many of
Normally on
those?
multiple devices.
Okay, so I probably could.
Yep.
The problem is, one person telecommutes from work, and the other person just uses the internet a lot. So there's a lot of data
That's
transfer.
fair.
So like theoretically, I could. One of us is throttled though, and
Yeah.
it's probably going to be my stream. Um,
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah,
I mean, all you need though for it is I want to say 4,500 kbps for that though.
that's actually how I stream my 720 at.
Well, then you're already doing it the kbps you need.
No, that's the bare minimum from 1080. Don't forget, I play a lot of high action 3D games. 4500 is the bare minimum for 1080p, so that gets a little crunchy. Probably want to go for around 5 or 6, and
Fair
then
enough.
have
Fair enough.
people like render down as needed. Which I'm not a partner, so I can't guarantee that. So me doing 4500 is already kind of iffy.
Hmm.
But man, it makes my streams look real nice. All about that quality content that I don't do.
Oh yes.
Because today we're just talking, and on Sundays, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, and last Sunday, I do tabletop RPGs. Oh, that glorious 4500 kilobits. Super good.
Ooh.
Yeah, whoa, 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you need the perfect graphics of tokens. And...
100%. In fairness, I could absolutely stream this show and that show at 1080 on this bandwidth because it's not high action. I just don't particularly feel like swapping my graphics settings for my render out every time I stream a thing.
That's fair.
I'm kind of lazy.
I mean, I feel like that's sensible. Like, why bother? It's what?
Yeah. But these are the things that we kind of have as an issue as like PC gamers and streamers, right? Like these are all considerations that we need to have. Like we need to invest on PC. Like what is my render for my game? Well, how much CPU do I need to do my streaming? Like I don't know how much of that you have to deal with, Dahlia, because I've largely seen you play games that haven't been like pushing the limits of like your PC, right? Like
Well, I have done VR chat and stuff in the past, which does actually push a little bit of it. So anytime I actually do a full-on VR game, that's when you can hear like my poor PC cooking in the background.
okay, like I wasn't sure how much like I've only seen you play Beat Saber, and I know that's a little rough because me and Rabbit know another guy who Beat Saber streams.
Oh, once I figure out how to do a Feet Saber, that's gonna be like a whole different debacle. That's actually a pretty cool mod that just came out. I'm actually pretty excited.
I mean, I ordered a Quest, so I'm looking a Quest 2, so I'm looking forward to fooling around with VR on my rig in
Nice.
November is when I think I'm supposed to be getting mine.
Yay.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, one day I hopefully will be able to join everyone else in the glorious land of VR because I have tried it. I do like it. But the main thing I'll be doing is modding Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 Remake so I can play those in VR in first person.
That's fair. That's okay. That sounds good.
But
I don't know if I'm going to be ready for that, but I'm going to do it.
Well, I want to know when you do it because I would totally watch something like that.
It does sound fun.
It will be. It will be.
Rabbit does some quality content. Mostly he suffers though. He likes his
Yes.
randomizers, platformers, and roguelikes.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yeah, and a while back when I did Resident Evil 2 Remake in the first person mod, which gave me a greater appreciation for the amount of detail they put on the textures. I mean, I was really impressed.
See, I don't play horror games, period. But I will watch streamers play horror games because I like when I can just put my hand up to block the screen
Yeah.
and and just hear them screaming. So it's like, yep, nope, I'm okay. That's actually like that's one of the big contrasts between me as a non-streamer entirely and streamers for me. When they have to decide which console they're going to invest in, for me, since I am never going to play a console ever, Period. Besides like the Switch, like handheld consoles, like those I will. But
Mm-hmm.
But Bray, what about the Demon Souls remake?
Nope. So like if I'm interested in, for example, Until Dawn or uh Detroit Become Human, right? Before they got their PC because they took a long time to get over to the PC.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I would play Until Dawn by myself anyway. But I had watched I had watched 6 different streamers play through those games completely. Because I was curious of all the choices. And since I wasn't making the choices, I had to watch different streamers to see like who's gonna screw up and get a character killed and all that kind of stuff. And like I actually really enjoyed that. So that's the one advantage. Like I can see why it would be an investment for streamers to make sure they're doing the games that like people are actually willing to watch multiple people play it. Like those choice games where it's like, everyone's gonna have like a slightly different playthrough. And then even when they don't, those are super enjoyable games because you get to watch the streamer make a bad decision and you're like, I know where that decision leads. This is gonna suck for you in about 20 minutes, you know? And there's the replay enjoyment. I say replay even though you're not like playing it, yourself. But it's like you get to enjoy the discovery of like seeing somebody else find out how bad that decision was.
Yeah, it's a whole different
Yep.
experience watching somebody else play the games that you like rather than you playing them yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like
You're go ahead.
Oh no, it's okay. With mine, it's like because I didn't start really streaming until like April of this year,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't even anything super crazy for me. But it's like it changes a lot of your aspect on like what you're doing as a streamer when it's like you're the one in the hot seat making those decisions. Like it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and you learn just how hard it is to both play the game and pay attention to chat at the same time.
Yeah.
See, I used to DJ, and that was difficult because I DJ'd in an MMO. So you also had to interact with everyone who came to the show. While you also like suddenly a technical issue popped up. Gotta love those. And but you were still trying to interact and pretend like you hadn't just discovered this huge technical issue that was gonna like rain doom on you in like about 5 minutes.
Mm.
But that's as far as I've gone. That sort of thing. So
Mm.
it's funny because you do see a lot of like people complaining about like, well, they don't interact with the chat enough, and it's like, I don't know that I'd be able to interact with the chat a lot like, if I was really into a game.
I feel like it's very hard, like with people who are larger streamers, because it's just like with that kind of thing, you can't answer everybody. Like, I don't think I could handle more than answering like more than 400 people. I would be like,
And
I'd be
my
concerned.
my attention span is barely enough for me to answer like one person speaking every once in a while on my stream sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and I know how both of you feel. It's just thing of whenever it comes to answering people, if you get to a point to a game, there's just sometimes where whenever I'm streaming, if it's a point where I have to hyper focus and I see the chat's moving real fast, I will say, "I'm sorry, chat, I can't look away right now."
Sometimes
I
that's
think
what
that's
you gotta
especially
do.
true for horror games and stuff like that because it's like you don't want to waste the last like 15 minutes because you looked away and then suddenly like a zombie comes around and bites your head off,
Yeah, yeah,
It's like that seems like that would be a particularly odd balance.
yeah. Especially when streaming roguelikes, because it's a thing of if you die in that, guess what? All that progress, start from
Gone.
square one.
That sounds. I don't play them.
It's a beautiful experience.
It really is. They're normally made to be a lot of fun like that, sort of like how arcade games were, but it still hurts a little.
Mhm.
See, I get by that by accepting that I am terrible and I promise
Oh.
no quality of play. I'm here just for the content. If you want to see me do well at it, I am not the right content.
I am not the person for you.
So what you're saying is everyone here is for Schadenfreude.
Yes. Listen, I'm just
Sounds
here
like our
to
kind of channel.
I'm here to play the game and see if I can get through it.
See, it's like the message you gave to the chat there is true. Like it is amusing to watch streamers suffer, right? Um,
We like
but
lots of
it's
things.
there's that switch when some streamers get actually mad, and when that happens, it's not fun for me anymore. It's like, this person is now yelling, and you can tell that they're actually like irritated, and it's like at that point I'm just like,
I
no, I'm out.
I think it depends
Um,
too, because like some people get genuinely frustrated, but not in an aggressive way, and I think
well,
that
yeah,
matters.
yes,
Yeah.
it's when they take on the actually angry tone. Like I don't know how else to describe it. It's like if you grew up around someone who had a temper and you paid the consequence of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's when that tone flips on and when the words start taking that slant, it's just like this isn't fun anymore. I'm gonna go because it's
Yeah.
like I don't want to hear this. Like it's like I don't want like obviously Markiplier is a huge streamer, right?
Mhm.
There's certain games he plays where he doesn't do it so much anymore, but he used to where he got genuinely upset to the point where a lot of his audience was going like, "You don't need to continue playing these games." And I think that's the point where like that it was really hard to tell whether how he was putting it on, but it didn't sound like he was putting it on.
Mhm.
And it was just like that crossed the line for me. I was just like, I could not watch those videos of his because I was just like, I can't, I don't want to hear someone
Like the
getting this
one where he
mad.
flipped the chair for getting over it.
Yes, getting over it was a really good example that I am toast game like playthrough. Like it
Because
was
he
just like,
lost his mind.
yeah, like it was like literally just like I'm actually semi terrified of this person right now. I don't like this. And it was so I stopped because like him shrieking and screaming at Five Nights at Freddy's is very different, and getting fed up because he made a stupid mistake is very different from like the games that are made to aggravate. Because when
Exactly.
you see that it's actually getting under their skin, it's like it's different. I don't know. It's just very different to me.
There's a interesting
Yeah.
little trivia tidbit I would like to attach to this thing because we're talking about getting over it. So Bennett Foddy, the
Oh
guy
no.
who made this game, he's
Is evil.
so he's only a hobbyist game designer. Like he didn't really go to school for this or anything. He actually went to school for moral philosophy and focused on like drug addiction and overcoming drug addiction. And I feel like that's largely why getting over it is phrased the way it is and why he waxes poetic and philosophical through the course of the game. Because that's his
Mhm.
background.
Yeah.
Like
And it
that game is just a like suffering exercise in moral philosophy.
yeah.
Hmm?
And if you're observing it as that, then it's semi interesting. But I think when people take it seriously, I'm like, I'm gonna beat this and everything. It's like, yeah, like you're going to get like infuriated, like, which is another moral philosophy like statement. But it's like I don't enjoy watching it.
But yeah. So, I think we've covered a lot of things.
Hmm.
And a lot of them not even about consoles and
I mean,
PC.
they're related because
Yeah.
it's more about like the experience, right? Like as gamers, because that's
Yeah.
ultimately what it is, right? Like consoles, PCs, it is is how you get your experience as a gamer. Which is why I don't understand the like weird obsession with people to be like, my console better. It's like, it.
Is it really though?
Yeah, it makes no sense. In the end, it's not the console that matters; it's the games that matter.
Yeah. Which
I
also
agree.
why it boggles my mind that there's this rise of people who are like, I want more console exclusives. It's like, no, don't. You don't want these. These are bad.
If you want me to hear me getting genuinely angry, that is dumb.
These are bad things.
I mean,
Don't ask for them.
yeah,
Like, and then like this whole like people approving of when they come to the PC and they're exclusive to a specific store, and I'm just like, no, screw you. Like, it makes me so mad. It's like, no, the whole thing about PC is once it comes to a PC, everyone who has a PC can play it. Like, don't do this. Don't
Yep.
try to turn this into consoles.
yeah.
Before
I
we
mean,
go
I can.
down that rabbit hole, I feel like that's a
Oh,
whole
hey, stay
other
away from
stream.
stay away from my hole.
You know what? Just for that.
Hey,
Uh-oh.
phrasing!
Just for that. My
You had
stream
to
is
make that
prepared.
into a sound bite.
My stream
For
is
the very
prepared.
first time I was on, because I was making snarky comments to him in his chat, and then he had to like go find it because I finally made him that up.
Yeah, my stream has all the bells and whistles. No one ever uses them, but they're there. They're fun. They're sound commands. They're pointless, but that's what these commands. Pointless fun. But no. Before we get into a whole other conversation, and like if people want to talk about like this weird exclusivity, market saturation, the weird epic war that they're trying to wage against I don't know what, we can have that as a stream.
Yeah.
People are certainly welcome to come back if they are interested in having such a topic of discussion.
Oh, definitely, this was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we have covered sort of the bulk of this topic. But final thoughts from everybody. Has anyone
Stop scalping cards. Don't be terrible people.
I will say, at least Bitcoin mining stopped being a thing, so people stopped scalping them for that.
Yeah.
So that's something.
Yeah, that whole thing sucked.
Rabbit, you have
Most
anything
people-
you want to add or discuss?
The only thing I can really add as final thoughts on this is really just people play what you want to play, get the system you want to have, just have fun with it. Gaming's a hobby after all.
100%.
I mean, if people actually acted like their hobbies weren't superior to other hobbies, though.
Yeah.
I mean, look at sports fans. I mean, it's not like being a sports fan isn't a hobby.
I
But
mean,
since when have they acted sane about it?
Meatloaf raises a
True.
good point. You should save up and buy yourself a PC. I'm not saying it's the better option, but
It's a better option.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I have one more final thought after hearing about sports fans?
Go for it.
All right. Sports fans, remind me about fantasy football, which I'm going to say this now. Fantasy football is for people who suck at both football and fantasy.
I feel like the irony is everyone I've ever known who is a sports fan but not a gamer is confused why I watch people play games on live streams and stuff. And they're always go like, why would you watch someone play a game? You're not playing it. And I'm like, I'm really hearing this from someone who like literally screams at the TV when somebody else gets a ball into a basket. Really? Like, I'm like, you're judging me because I'm enjoying watching like another person play a game, but you literally have a score sheet that you keep by the couch of like for the entire season. What? It's like
Some people get real intense about their interests.
that's my mom, okay?
Some people get
Oh no.
real intense about
No,
their
I'm not.
interests.
I gave her a shirt that said, "Yay, sports!" Throw the thing into the other thing. Like, and she wears it a lot of times when it's like the UNC games. She just, it is like, in that sense, this pandemic has been amazing. This is the first year in a long time I haven't had screaming at the TV. Like, my mom's the sweetest woman, but the second that basketball game turns on,
Oh,
it's
no.
all over.
No, it's same with my my mom in baseball.
Yeah, it's just like, who are you and what did you do with the woman who raised me? I don't understand. And then she gets like so mad when she's playing Animal Crossing, and she
How does
can't.
one playing Animal Crossing?
She gets fed up because she, like, for some reason can never find like the wisp again to turn
my-
in the. I don't know how. I don't know how. But she's like, I'm about to just quit. I'm about to quit. She'll stay up for like a half hour. And I'm just like, huh. And all that time you made fun of me for getting mad for like losing in boss fights and actually like and it's just like because like yeah my mom has had, you know, cancer and heart attack, so I live at home so that she doesn't live alone. And it's just like, it's just funny because like she's become so much more understanding in my gaming since I got her hooked on Animal Crossing. It's almost worth me losing my Switch.
Almost.
She's just like, she totally gets it now. She's just like, but we have to save up more money. Okay, how do we save up more money? And I'm just like, okay, it's okay, Mom. It's okay. We're going to make more money. No, you just put down. No, this game doesn't let you delete things that easily. You just put it down. It's behind the tree over there.
So I think the moral of this conversation here is that our hobbies make us into monsters, and you should be nicer to the people you hang out with if they don't have an interest in your hobbies, because they don't understand.
You'll never understand me. It's not a phase, Mom. I'm a gamer.
And if you haven't tried it, you haven't tried a hobby, at least give it one shot. You know, if it's
Yep.
not illegal. And,
Yeah. Yeah, that last bit there's a little important.
Yeah.
clarifying, you know, at least like, you know, watch a basketball game to try to understand what is so appealing, and then you can say you did it, and find a game they might like and they can exchange, and then they'll probably get hooked, so don't let them do it on your console. That's the real
That one's a little specific.
I don't think it is that specific though.
Oh, okay.
Like, I feel like people losing consoles to other people is pretty like once they like, because it's always like a husband's trying to get their wife into gaming or something, or vice versa, and so they're like, oh, try this game, and then they lose access to the device they introduced them to. Like, that is like that has been done so many times.
This is why you need to get matching couples devices. You want an
Well,
Xbox,
yeah, but
they get an Xbox. You want a Switch, they get a Switch.
You
Or just
always
do
buy
what I
two.
do. Or just do what I do and stay single.
Eh.
Well, I mean, like I said, Michelle bought that Switch for her son, and doesn't matter. It's hers now.
Again, I think your family has a weird, like, I don't know, tendency to just take their children's electronic devices.
Is that like a weird tendency though? Is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Because I feel like
Yeah.
that's a common tendency.
No.
No.
I feel like
No.
other parents do that to their kids.
No.
I think 3 of us are saying no. So in this case, you're the odd one out.
I don't. I feel like
In this
That is
sample
not
size,
true.
25% of parents do this. 75% do not. This is,
Well, I feel like 25% still isn't like a small like sample size. Like I feel like 25%, 1 in 4
This is-
parents doing something is not.
this is why percentages without sample size references are very deceptive.
Yes.
This is why
Exactly.
sample size
We have
matters.
now learned why.
Dr.
Yes.
Bow Wow.
We are now giving a statistics lesson too.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's, we've been going for about 2 hours. I think we've covered the bulk of what we needed to cover. So let's wrap things up.
And never buy a graphics card the first day it comes out.
Oh, absolutely
That's just
never.
good.
Never buy
That's just
anything.
good. Yeah, exactly.
Give the
If
market
it's
time.
if it's a tech thing, do not buy it the first day it comes out.
Oh, I don't
Some,
care
like,
if it's like a
non-tech-
sandwich. I ain't buying that like the new type of sandwich, like prepackaged. Like, no, I'm gonna wait to see if there's horse in it.
God.
I feel like that's a very personal
Yeah,
No,
that's very specific.
no, because
that is very specific.
one-
What's happened to you in the past?
one, I
Seiji?
have never had horse. I'm actually curious about horse.
No, do not. Oh my
No.
god, you did not just say that.
Listen, Aldi a couple years ago had an issue where somehow a horse got into their supply line and was like in some of their food
Oh
products.
my god, I remember that.
And I'm just like,
I'm so
I was bewildered by this a little bit, not because it was horse, because like obviously it was a horse that was not just like randomly in, like it was designed to be like food service. It doesn't just accidentally end up in the slaughter plant. But the thing that got me was like, horse cannot be cheaper than beef.
Yeah.
So
I guess you could say they're wanting to add a little giddy up to their meal.
listen, Kage isn't here today. You didn't have to do the pun.
You're right. But at the same time, when else am I going to get to make that joke?
So we're wrapping up, and unfortunately, I'm going to turn this conversation to Rabbit. Rabbit, I'm going to give you extra airtime now.
Yes.
Is there anything you would like to pitch or say as closing? Like just talk about your stream, whatever.
Okay, well, if we're doing self-pitch, if we're doing a self-pimping, then I'll just say, yes. Well, first, thank you for having me on, Seiji. I greatly appreciate it. And secondly, for those of you who are curious about my content, I have been doing YouTube for 10 plus years now, started in 2009, switched between channels, but right now my current channel and my permanent one from henceforth is Rabbit Sensei Gaming on YouTube or Rabbit Sensei VT on Twitch, where I do a bunch of gaming content and just if there's a game out there that seems fun, I'll play it. Doesn't matter what genre. So you can always expect something of variety from me, though I am best at action platformers.
Okay. Check out his content. It's pretty good. Watch him suffer.
Yep.
You can also watch him bring karma on himself when he kills shopkeepers because he's a monster. He does that in Spelunky.
Oh, you're one of those.
Should I send you that tweet that I sent you earlier, Seiji?
You're a monster, sir.
Should I put it in the general chat?
You can put it in. You might get hazed for it, but you're welcome to
there
put
you
it
go.
in.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, Dahlia, you're fantastic. Thank you for coming.
Not a problem.
We should hang out more.
Okay.
What is your pitch that you would like to give? Because I know you're doing something later tonight, aren't you?
Yes, I'm part of a gaming team called Nocturnal GG. I'm one of their content creators. I'm not one of their professional players, but I get to make content on the side and promote them. So yeah, we're gonna be playing Among Us tonight. So we're all gonna be running around screaming, probably trying to kill each other. Me and the owner of the team usually go back and forth, so that will be fun. And yeah, I hope you all can maybe join and have a good time. I am usually a VR streamer, so you normally will see me, not my face, but my character instead. Please come hang out with the weird demon anime chick. It's really great.
Are you doing boyfriend applications still? Because that's a thing we could pitch.
That I'm gonna be probably doing later, probably
Okay.
later this week. So not this week because I like that was a lot in the first stream. I already got a good chunk done,
You
and
got
then I
like
got
a
4 more
bunch.
during the stream. So
You should check
it's
out
honestly
her
just a
her
funny
Twitter.
thing.
It's there under her name right now. I
I'm
believe the
very confused
link
by
for that
this now.
application is still there.
Yep, the application is still up. Please follow me on Twitch and Twitter if you're looking for more updates on my thick anime girl self, or if you want to watch the rest of my content.
Yes, check her out. Her content's good.
Thank you.
Ray, I don't.
Yeah, you know I don't have anything to pitch. What?
Oh,
Hi, Q. I see you had to get your Foxette redeem in. I don't know if that worked. Did it? Maybe? I wasn't actually paying attention to see if that came up or not. Actually, I don't think that came up, did it? That's unusual. Why did that not come up?
broken.
Yeah,
Well,
it's,
Seiji, you know what you must do. You must autoplay it yourself.
The computer felt bad that you were talking crap about it, so
yeah, let me
tried to
fix
retaliate.
that. That should have fixed it. So I will fix that by playing your redeem for you. Because I have unlimited points on my own channel.
Yay.
Maybe that worked? Did that not work? Oh, that didn't work. Why is that not working? Uh-oh.
Everything broken.
Why-
Yay.
Why does that stop working? I have a problem now.
Well, Seiji, it's now officially a real stream. It's not one until you have technical difficulties.
And right at the
Why?
end, too.
Why do you not work? Uh-oh.
It said no.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's why it doesn't work. Okay, hold on. Let me fix that real quick. I see why
I
that
kind
didn't
of
work.
feel like Seiji just wants me to pitch something because the only thing that like I could pitch is the Lancer games that are on his
Oh, I can pitch
channel.
that. You don't have to worry about it. Hold on.
It's like
Does Q get his redeem? Maybe? There we go!
Yay.
Yeah, so I have video redeems. So I have cameos of some of my VTuber friends. If anyone's ever interested, because you're a streamer and you hang out with me, you're welcome to work with me on a redeem of some sort. You know, I do all sorts of weird things, like Dahlia, I think. Oh, there we go. That she'd recognize that one.
Look, don't make fun of me. That was a beautiful game, but it was so mean to me.
It's a great game. Q, there is a cooldown on those, so I think that one got eaten. But actually, no, it should refund you for ones that are done too soon.
Oh,
Yeah,
there it is.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's about a minute-ish cooldown, just so that they don't like overlap on top of each other. Oh yeah, this is my friend Project Bombshell. She is a bomb girl. She's giggly and fun. Yeah. So, Ray, I don't know if you have anything you want to pitch that is not related to my stream stuff. Oh, Q's just going all out with these. I see. Okay.
no, I pitched that everyone should vote. That's my pitch.
That's fair. If you're in the United States, you should absolutely register and vote. And I will not tell you who to vote for, because I believe you are allowed to believe whatever you want and vote for whoever you want. I don't have to agree with you, but you are allowed to do whatever you want to do.
But you don't get to say anything about the government if you don't vote. And you had the opportunity to.
Sure. That is fair.
Like that's my philosophy. It's like if you didn't make your voice heard when it counted, you don't get to make your voice heard like later when it's just you whining.
Sure. That's fair.
Look, I can't help it. I was a history major. This matters.
So, again, thank you to everyone who came and stopped by and listened to us talk about the future of gaming, which is very strange and unusual and kind of turned on its head this time. we're in a weird place. I feel like this is 2020. Like this is all the fault of 2020.
I mean, start out with a plan, execute the plan, wait for the plan to go wrong, throw away the plan.
I mean, that's how I run my Lancer game. I don't know if you
Yeah.
are aware of that, but
Yeah, except you're still waiting for a plan from me on that last one.
Yeah.
Since apparently no one had a plan.
no, but you
and
have a
I
whole
did-
week, so it's fine. We're
Yeah,
not
but
doing
no
a
one.
game this week.
I like how you just decided that I would have a plan by the next game.
I said
When I wasn't my idea for them to go out there in the first place.
I said you in the collective sense. There's
No, you did not. You specifically said, "I'm sure Bray will have a plan." By
No,
the time
Jerry, Jerry.
It started as a
Jerry.
you in a collective sense, but then everyone kind of went, and then so it became your fault. It became your
Like,
problem.
everybody else was still clueless, so I put it on you.
So if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, I run a tabletop RPG in a system called Lancer. It is not at all like the indie. It is a mecha heavy future sci-fi. It's not, I can't really say it's necessarily sci-fi. It is like science fantasy almost, but it has that
I mean,
sci-fi vibe because it tries.
space western.
Yeah, I run it as a space western personally. It's called Wayfar Adventures on the Edge of Space. We run it every other Sunday, so next Sunday. This is our off week. From 6 p.m. Eastern to normally about midnight. Although one of our players now is working again, so 10 I think is sort of the soft cutoff. 11 is like the absolute cutoff. So we do for a few hours.
You guys, I'm gonna bounce.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's been really great.
Thanks for coming. Go enjoy your murder.
I'm gonna go get food and then murder. Hooray! Knives. Bye bye.
Enjoy your food.
See ya.
But yeah, so yeah, Lancer every other Sunday. I am actually looking to do this particular show format ideally Saturdays. I don't know if it's going to be every Saturday just because guests are difficult to line up. We kind of had a last minute third guest who kind of came in about 30 minutes in. But we'll be covering all sorts of topics: gaming, hobbies, world events, maybe, depending on if there's anything interesting that isn't like purely political. Because I'm gonna be avoiding stuff like that.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a calm, casual topic, clearly.
It's not a dumpster fire at all. What?
Politics is always a dumpster fire everywhere in the world. Doesn't matter what country you're in. There's always one dumpster fire. But yeah. So the next topic, I believe we're gonna be trying to do VR. I have a few potential guests lined up that I need to talk to. I can't guarantee that it's going to be next Saturday. I need to check with everyone's schedules. But,
Seiji, might I make a request?
yeah.
The one about VR, you've got to start it with the theme from VR Troopers.
We'll see. We'll see. Copyright strikes are still a thing.
True.
We'll see.
Link to a YouTube video in the chat. Be like,
Yeah, just
everyone,
give it-
you are required to listen to this.
Yeah, just get her make an 8-bit rendition of it and you'll be fine.
I can absolutely not play the audio and have the video playing for the actual
Yeah.
opening. It's technically.
This is true.
Yeah. It's not technically a violation of the MCA if I am providing the vocals because they are technically striking
gonna
the
sing the
audio
song?
use.
Yep. Don't wanna get hit by
technically.
DMCA.
I mean, like, you can just sing the song.
But
You're like, that is never going to happen.
no, I don't sing. Yeah, we'll see exactly how that works out for schedule. I will probably end up offloading some of the like planning of that to somebody. Probably Bray. She's better organized than I am. I could just be like, here's a list of things. I need you to help me organize it because I'm real terrible at it.
Like, first time I'm hearing about this, but okay.
I mean, I didn't
like,
say I'm going to. I said probably going to. It's different. I probably
Is
want to
it-
do a lot of things. You don't hear from me ever again about most of those things.
I mean, that's true. That is true.
um, but yeah, thanks for coming. We're not gonna raid today. Just because I feel like that doesn't really work in the spirit of what this is. But thanks to everybody who came. Look forward to seeing you again, either on another one of these 8-Bit Bistro live sessions, or Freelancer, or whenever the heck I stream a game again, because that's been a couple weeks. I'd like to finish Avengers. I'm like 90% of the way through. But work is a thing, and it messes up my time, and my schedule, and everything's weird. But until then, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.